Welcome back, McFly subscribers. This is what we're going to be tying today. It's another Perdigon fly, and this style I'm going to call a brown Quill Flash Back. So I'm going to spend more time later in the video discussing this fly so we can start tying here faster. Let's get started. You will need a jig hook and slotted tungsten bead for this fly, and I'm using Resin's barbless jig hooks, the 9230 in size 16 today, and Resin's gold bead in 3mm. By the way, Resin has some amazing prices on beads and awesome colors to choose from. Of course, the normal colors like gold, black, and silver, but they also have some really interesting colors like white, dirty olive, purple, olive green, glow in the dark, which I used last week, matte black, and even more. So check them out. Their prices are great. Okay, let's get to tying. Place your hook and bead securely in your vise. By the way, the bead needs to be oriented correctly. If it's upside down, it won't seat properly on the hook. This fly uses 3 different thread colors, and I'm using Viva's 10-aught for all of them: brown, black, and red. By the way, you could change up the body color if you want. I tie this in olive as well. Start your thread right behind the bead and snip or snap off the thread. Make sure the bead is seated correctly, and then make a thread dam behind the bead to keep it locked into place. I actually didn't make enough wraps here, and later on you will see that the bead slips down. That's okay, it just makes tying a little more difficult. But end with your thread halfway down the hook shank. For a tail, I really like these Whiting CDL tailing packs. The color I'm using today is natural brown. Pull off a feather and strip off all the fuzzies and softer fibers towards the base. Select about half a dozen fibers and stroke them out to align the tips. And then pinch the tips tightly and rip them off the stem. Tie these in with the tips rearward with 2 to 3 wraps. And then take a look at the length of the tail. If you want to make the tail shorter, just pull the butt ends until the tail is the length that you want. I actually like a fairly short tail for this fly, so I'm adjusting even shorter here. It's your fly though, make the tail as short or long as you want. Once happy with the length, make a couple tight wraps and lock it into place. I'm using a flat thread, so here I am spinning my bobbin counterclockwise to uncord it. This will flatten out the thread and make the body smoother and thinner. Tie back to the start of the hook bend, ensuring that the tail stays straight back. And then cut off the butt ends. For a ribbing effect, I like these magic quills, and I'm using the medium-sized dark edge. Pull one off. And you can see here that it is tapered. The tip is a bit too narrow for my use, so I cut about an inch or so off. One side of the quill is sticky, so tie this in with the sticky side towards you, starting right at the base of the tail. Tie up to the bead, covering the body with smooth wraps. Now here I find that the thread is not completely covering the quill, so I am going to uncord the thread once again and make smooth wraps down to the base of the tail and back up to make the whole body more brown. End with your thread a bit shy of the bead, maybe a hook eye length back. Now start wrapping the quill up the hook shank with touching wraps, positioning the back of each wrap right in front of the previous. As you can tell, the sticky side is now against the thread wraps. When you reach your thread, capture the quill and snip it off close. Save the rest of the quill, as you can use it on larger flies. End with your thread right behind the bead. Then grab your black thread and start it right behind the bead. Grab both threads and tie back up onto them. Then snip off the brown thread and black thread waist. Now we need some tinsel for the flashback. This spooled UTC medium-sized pearl tinsel will work great. Tie in the tinsel directly on top of the fly. Here, let me turn this so you can see what I mean. You really want to ensure that it is positioned directly on top. Pull the tinsel back so the butt end is not overlapping the bead. Then make a couple tight wraps to lock it down tight. Now we will tie back to form the right-sized wing case. I find about halfway down the hook shank works for me on this hook, but make sure you give enough wing case space, as you need more than you will think. Let's build up the wing case a bit by tying up partially to the bead and then back down and then back up once more. End with your thread right behind the bead. Now pull the tinsel forward and tie it down, ensuring that it is straight and directly on top of the fly. Make 2 wraps and pull it rearward, and then make a wrap or 2 over it so it holds it tightly. Then cut off the tinsel waist. Make a 2-turn whip finish right behind the bead. Then grab your red thread and make a hot spot. We want this to be as thin as possible, so only make 2 to 3 wraps before cutting off the waist. Make 1 wrap and then simply whip finish it with a 3 to 4 turn whip finish. Then cut off the waist close. By the way, I'm using Resin's mitten scissors for this. It has a super fine tip that allows me to snip the thread off very close. Now we need some resin. I am using the Solares Bone Dry, which comes in black and clear, but today we're only going to be using the clear. It comes with a handy built-in applicator brush in the cap, which makes this super easy. Brush it on the fly, covering the body and whip finish. Make sure you get all sides. As you can see, it really shines up that flashback and it brings out more definition in the quill body. When you're happy with it, use your UV light to cure it while spinning the fly to make sure it cures evenly. I want to build a bit of a taper, so I am going to add another coat starting halfway down the body and just covering the wing case and hot spot. Cure this the same way and your fly is now finished. That flash there really shines up great with this resin, but you can see that there's a cavity formed by the slotted bead. This is totally fine and will not affect the fishability of this fly, but if it bothers you, you can fix that. Turn the fly downward like so. Then put a dot of this resin just at the bead cavity. Then cure it. The cavity absorbed the first drop of resin, so let's do one more. And there we can see how that got filled up. If you want, you can then even out the bump a bit with another coat of resin. And there we go. That is a really nice looking Perdigon. Perdigons come in a wide range of different colors and styles, but ultimately they are just a heavy weighted nymph fly that sinks incredibly fast due to the weight, but also the fact that the body is smooth and creates no drag in the water. Also, they're incredibly durable since the whole fly is coated with a hard resin. Last week I tied a super flashy and brightly colored Perdigon that I use as an attractor fly. If you haven't already, please check out that video, and I will link to it in the description section of this video and at the end of the video as well. So while that was a super flashy fly, this version I would call a semi-attractor. It has a more natural body to it, but still has that hot spot and flash back. See, Perdigons are very versatile. You can tie them with many different colors and styles. Most are basically the same thing, generally tied with the tail and some type of red body, and then of course the resin. They work amazingly as a lead fly to help get your rig down quickly, and then you can drop a non-weighted fly off the back. But they also work really well in the Euro nymphing style of fishing as well. So get yourself some jig hooks and tungsten slotted beads, and also some super thin resin, which I find the Solares Bone Dry works really well for me, and tie yourself up a bunch of these. I like them so much I have a dedicated box just for Perdigon flies, as you can see here. I got a bunch of different styles and sizes. By the way, I do sell these boxes on Amazon with free shipping. This one is silicone backed with pre-made slots that hold the flies really well. The silicone is self-healing, and even if you poke it with a hook, it will not get messed up like the foam inserts do. They are waterproof and also super thin, which allow you to take multiple boxes with you and organize each box by fly type or style. And they also fit in most shirt pockets. If you haven't already, please check out my sponsor, Resin Fly. They made the hooks and beads I use today. But they also make fly rods and reels and a host of other gear, tools, and materials you need for fly fishing or tying. Their gear is amazing quality, but priced very good. Best off, they're offering you all a discount, so type in McFly at checkout and you'll get 15% off of your first order with them. Hey, thanks for watching, everyone. Check back next week and I will be tying this Perdigon for you. It's a little different with a dubbing collar. If you haven't already, please subscribe and hit that bell notification so you don't miss future videos like this awesome fly. Also, if you could click the like button, it would really help me and the channel out. I will see you on the next video. Now you go catch some fish.